And this is why you need Jesus and probably a mental health professional. Hello everyone, my name is Pablo and this is Ascension Presents. Okay, so a little bit about me. I grew up in a Catholic home. You're actually in it right now, super exciting. After I got into my faith, I used to be studying public relations and communications, fun fact, and then I switched over. And in that semester of lapse, I decided to take a couple of mental health classes, because why not? And I ended up falling in love with it. And I have this idea of getting a double major in theology and psychology. And I've been in ministry for a long time. You don't have to know how many years. I've been in ministry for a while, and I promise you that I use both degrees every single day of my life. I always tell my students, all of you should take anatomy because you have a body. So I really think that all of us should know something about psychology because we have brains, right? John Hopkins says that 1 out of 4, this statistic actually shocked me, 1 out of 4 Americans struggle with a diagnosable mental health illness. And when I say a diagnosable one, I think sometimes, I'm gonna talk later about the power of words. Sometimes we throw words out there like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I'm so depressed, or oh man, I'm so anxious. Like, I'm not talking about just like moments of sadness. I'm talking about clinical depression where there's like hormone chemical imbalances and there's something deeper. So this is why I wanna talk about this, because I don't think it's being talked enough. So let's do this. First of all, there is a lot of like stigmas in regards to this topic. Why? I actually talked to one of my friends who's a counselor. I was like, why do so many people hesitate to go to a counselor? Number one reason is probably gonna be the stigma. You kind of think that you have to be having hallucinations before you go to a counselor. And that's a problem because all of us, I think, can benefit from a counselor. Because we live in a fallen world. And I'm gonna talk more about that later. But one, it's the stigma of I'm not messed up enough or things are just not bad enough. I can handle it. I got this, right? Self-sufficiency can totally ruin you, fun fact. But it's this idea of no, like we need to do what we can to get help when we can. So number one, the stigma. Number two, culturally speaking. I'm Hispanic, so I'll speak for Hispanics, but I've actually talked to other friends that are from other cultures and they all kind of agree. My family was super supportive when I wanted to study theology and psychology. When I said I needed to go to a counselor, some people were like, why is that? I think one, because families think like, you have a problem, we're gonna handle it. Like in the family. Like me and you, we're gonna talk about this. And that's really beneficial. That sounds really nice, but they're in the same messed up family as you, and that's not gonna be very helpful. So we need to get that third opinion to be able to do this. And another one, and I'm seeing this a lot, especially with Catholic in the Catholic world, we have this lie in our head that if we go to a counselor, it means that God's not good enough. Like God's not enough. Like, oh, you have issues with just, and I've literally have heard people say this at retreats to my students, and I'm like, no, you struggle with depression, you struggle with suicidal thoughts, like you're just not praying enough. I'm sorry, if someone is bleeding out next to you, are you just gonna be like, oh, you're bleeding out? Like just pray hard and the bleeding's just gonna stop. Thankfully, God works through these things. God works through mental health professionals in the same way he works through doctors. And we need to be able to use both faith and science. Yeah, they're friends, they go together. We need to be able to use both of them to be able to do the best we can. And the coolest part, and I'm just gonna nerd out real quick because I'm a Jesus nerd, let's just face it. Jesus knew this. Like just dive into scripture. I teach morality and sacraments and I love going down to the beginning, Genesis, right? We all know the story, 7 days, 1, 2, 3, we're the best part, what's up? That part, day 7, there's a whole day for rest. Did Jesus need to rest? Like did God need to rest? God is God. I promise you, God did not need rest, but he dedicates a whole day for it. The Sabbath day. Why? For my mental health, because I need help. I need a day where I just am relaxing and going on nature walks and praying and just taking a minute. Have you guys ever noticed, just look around on Sundays at Mass. Sometimes people just have like breakdowns at Mass. Why is that? It's probably the only hour out of the whole week that you're silent and that you have time to process and think. So yeah, Jesus definitely cares about our mental health. God definitely cares. And we see that not only in Genesis, but Jesus himself When he was curing people, he didn't just cure them physically, he cured them, like forgave their sins and emotionally and freed spirits. He cared about the entirety of the human person. That's awesome. And on another note, right, because there's so much more, can we just talk a second about the sacrament of confession? Hi. Like, can it get more mental health than that? The entirety of the church, and I can go off for this for every single sacrament and every single like commandment. They all care about not only like making you a better person physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And that's why I love our church, because it's awesome. Why do I think all of us can benefit? It's because we're all messed up. If you're human, you have issues, and so do I. In the beginning, it was not so. That wasn't God's plan. In the Garden of Eden, everything was perfect. Then sin came. We just messed it all up. But we needed that for freedom, and well, that's a whole nother. This wasn't in the original plan. But we are in a fallen world. And there are major trust issues. And you and I have been hurt. And if you're in a family, I'm sure they're awesome. I'm sure they've hurt you. And I'm sure you've hurt them. And I don't have children yet, but I promise you, they're gonna need a counselor because of things that I do. And that's okay, because I'm not perfect. Only God is. And that's why I'm gonna baptize my kids and reclaim that they first belong to God, who is perfect and not me, because I am broken. And this is why I think we can all benefit from Jesus and a counselor, because we all have areas in our lives that need healing. And God wants to meet us there, and he wants to restore. So how do we take action? I'm a very let's do this kind of person. Step number 1 is gonna be really obvious. Are you ready for this? Pray. I know, well, duh, Mari. I honestly, if I was you, I'd probably roll my eyes at myself at this point. There's been an increase in the past year in all this, and I think it's because we've had more time to stop and be in silence. And in the silence, God is able to bring up all those areas that sometimes, and I do this myself, I just rather keep busy than actually address my brokenness. And in the silence and in prayer, when I'm isolated, when I retreat, right? Retreat's another thing that God does. When we retreat, when we do all these things, when we meditate, the rosary is supposed to be a form of meditation. When we do all these things, God can show us, hey, Mari, I know you're trying to avoid these, but I really want to heal you. I really want to make you better. Will you join me on this journey with me? He doesn't just push us down a shaft and be like, have fun. He walks with us and he enters those areas with us. So 1, prayer, silence, so that God can show us what areas we need to work on. And then once we know the areas, we can actually seek help. And that help can start off by first talking to your friends and talking to your loved ones that you trust. Start there. That's a great place to start, actually. But once you identify, I have depression issues. I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with issues from childhood abuse. I struggle with being trust issues that have been deeply rooted in my childhood. I have relationship issues. I have commitment issues. I have addiction issues, all these different things that maybe we need help in. When we know the areas, then we can seek proper help. And so that's going to be number 3. Actually do something. It sounds really nice. Oh yeah, I'm going to go see a counselor. Actually, oh man, as I'm saying this was me a couple of months ago. Yeah, I'm going to go see a counselor. My friends were like, have you made the appointment? Did you do it? And they literally would check in on me until I did. Great friends, by the way. You should do that. Okay, counseling can go really good. It can go really good if you have the right counselor. It can also go really bad if you don't. Finding a good counselor is going to be important. If you care about your faith, I would suggest finding a faith-based counselor that really understands you. And if that means that you have to go to a couple of different counselors until you find one that fits, that's totally fine. And if that means you have to go, if you're struggling with addiction, that means you have to go to rehab, go to rehab. And if that means that you need more help because there's, chemical imbalances, get the help. Love yourself enough that you want to help yourself. We're so big on helping other people, but what are we doing for ourselves? And if you need help seeking a Catholic counselor or someone that's going to be good in the area, or books or resources, go to the description below. We have a link that goes to my resource link on my website. Can you tell I like this stuff? It's important. And the best part of all this, and this is why I love Jesus and a counselor, right? Jesus, he's Jesus. Everything that we're doing, we do with him. I love that image of St. Thomas, the doubter, where Jesus is pointing and drawing St. Thomas into the wounds. He's not St. Thomas, do it yourself. I think that'd be really, let's not talk about that. That's gross. He guides the hands of St. Thomas into the wounds. We're all broken and we all have things from our past that it's gonna hurt. But like any wound, in order for it to heal, you have to go in, take out all the gunky pus and so that it can heal properly. And only God knows exactly how to pick things up. And only God knows exactly what to do so that you and I can truly be healed. So can we please put our pride down, put our self-sufficiency down, look into the eyes of the one who knows you and loves you and who wants to heal you and set you free? And all you got to do is say yes. So go out and take care of yourself because he loves you enough. And because, wait for it, you're worth that. Thank you so much. Have a great day.